What's up, peeps? Sorry I'm doing a video so late. It's technically morning right now, but I fell asleep. But I figured I still need to do this video. So the plan is I'm gonna review this right now, Ghost Rider, and then later today, Final Destination 5. Then tomorrow, Escape Plan 3. I'm gonna do Hans Gruber video, but I'm also gonna try because tomorrow it's supposed to be we're supposed to be getting the Halloween Ends trailer tomorrow, so I gotta probably react to that. So I actually might just do the villain video on Thursday. I might just, if anything, just do the trailer reaction and then watch Escape Plan 3 just to get that out of the way. So I'll just save the villain video for Thursday and slash Underworld 2. But Ghost Rider, I felt like, you know what, it made more sense to go with Ghost Rider. There's two of them, continuing down the Nicolas Cage trail road. I'm not gonna do Ghost Rider 2 next week though, because next week's movie pitch day, so I won't be doing it that day. But we'll do it the following Monday. But Ghost Rider. I remember when this came out. This came out in 2007, and I just remember being really hyped because I was always a fan of Ghost Rider. I mean, I've always loved the character, the idea of the character. This dude in a motorcycle who takes who takes souls, who sold his soul to the devil. The whole story is just interesting, and learning that there's multiple Ghost Riders is pretty cool. So to actually finally see him in a movie is great. And I remember when it came out, and I really liked it at the time. I was 11, I think, because yeah, it's 2007. So yeah, I was about 11 years old, and I was really okay. This is good. And then I hadn't watched it for some years, and I watched it again. I watched it again last night. I gotta say, it's really good. Like, it's not great. I wouldn't put it up there with like Spider-Man 2 or the first two X-Men movies. Like, it's nowhere near those movies, but it's definitely a fun one. Like, they, for the most part, like, I thought Nicolas Cage played it pretty well. There's some scenes you get the goofy Nicolas Cage, which is fine, but he did it really well. Is he my go-to casting? Probably for Johnny Cage? No. Probably would have went with somebody else, but I thought he worked. Blackheart, granted, I would have liked him to look more like his comic book, but I understand. This was at that time when they weren't really trying to make everything look like the comic, maybe besides the actual character. But I thought Eva Mendes did pretty good as like the love interest, as Roxanne, sorry. But yeah, it was a fun movie. Like, the story was really simple. He won. It was how they go back and tell the story about how he became. His father died. He makes the deal, and then his father dies, and then basically the devil. And I actually really enjoyed the actor. I don't think it's Lance Henriksen. It looks like him though. It almost sounds like him too, to be honest. But I like those scenes. I think the only thing this movie really needed is it needed to be darker, because Ghost Rider's story is dark. Like, it's really dark. This is a dude who sold his soul to the devil and he takes souls. Should be R-rated, but aside from that, this is still a fun movie. Like, I really like the scenes when you see Nick Cage transform, and overall, he looks good as Ghost Rider, at least in this movie. I hated the second one, which I will get into eventually. But, like, yeah, the first one, I really dig. I really dig his design, like, largely, and watching it again, it looks good. Like, some of the visual effects look pretty good. It don't look great, but he looks good as the Ghost Rider. And I love the bike design, the more chopper. Because even in the sorry, voice crack there for a second. Even in the comics, I've always preferred the more Harley look of his motorcycle. I've never liked the sportsy look. It just doesn't fit. It's supposed to be like Ghost Rider, this rider. A Harley look works better for the character. But yeah, aside from that, overall, this is a fun movie. Mid-aught, came out in the mid to late aughts, so it's not exactly great, but I definitely would watch it. I thought the final act was pretty fun. And the scenes when he does the penance stare is pretty, like, dark. Like, to see, like, a hero do something like that, especially at the time. And I even like the little fire animation intro. It's kind of cool. So, but I would give this movie a 7. I would recommend it. I mean, watch it, even just as like a Nicolas. If you're like a fan of Nicolas Cage, you'll like this movie. It's a fun one. You have some fun fight scenes. the scenes where he's riding on the side of the building and his bike's pretty cool. So like it's an overall fun movie. It's not a great one, but it's definitely a good one. So we'll when we can get into that. But other than that, yeah, let's go. So the movie opens. We meet Young. Well, we get that cool like animation intro where it's like him on the bike and it's like animated. But we meet young Johnny Blaze working with his dad, who's a stunt driver. One night, you see that he has like a really loving relationship with a girl named Roxanne. But one night, he realizes his dad, he sees like a letter from the doctor in the trash where it says his dad has cancer. So he goes to the circus where his dad works. And this is where we get our first look at the devil. The actor who played him did really good. Basically makes a deal with him. Says, I can help your dad, and your dad will be full and healthy the next morning. And Johnny, not knowing, he agrees to make the deal. Basically, I'm just gonna call him the devil. He has another name, but I can't really pronounce it right now. But the devil then makes the deal with him and basically says, I will come back and I'm gonna need you. So Johnny agrees. Next morning, his dad is fine. But his dad tries to do a stunt, and his dad dies. And Johnny then confronts the devil again, and the devil basically, that's when he tells him, I'm going to need you again. And then we see him ride off away from Roxanne. So time jump now. This is where we meet the villain of the film, Blackheart, who's the son of the devil. He basically wants the contract, and his father refuses to give it to him. He gets other basically villains that are based off elements like air, water, and I think there's one more. Sorry, I think earth, air, and like something else. Water, earth, air, and water. Sorry, my mind went blank for a second. But so he gets these people, and I gotta say, Blackheart, the actor they got to play him, did really good. Like, he's really hateable. I'm not gonna lie, they did get a really good hateable actor to play him. But I think the problem, not necessarily the problem, it's just Blackheart looks so cool in the comics, and I get it. This was 2007. They were still not fully doing comic accurate stuff. Like even the Raimi films, love those films. They didn't make Green Goblin look like Green Goblin from the comics. So a lot of times that was just a thing at the time. They figured, oh, maybe he looked too goofy in the comics, or they didn't want to do too much CGI, so they just kept him looking human, which that's fine. It works for the film. So he goes to look for the contract. We now meet current day Johnny Blaze with his friend. With his friends, he's like this famous stunt driver now. And yeah, I think Nicolas Cage plays it so fun. That's why I do like this movie. Partially is because how Nicolas Cage plays it. But I do agree. Like, in a more ideal world, I love Nicolas Cage, but he would not have been my pick. But it's fine. So Roxanne, now a journalist, interviews him. He tries to get a date with her. She ends up agreeing. But that night, same night, the devil comes back. He gets the rider powers. And this is where we basically get our first look at Ghost Rider. And yeah, really good, cool. Confronts Blackheart. Ends up killing Gressel, I think that was the Earth Demon, pretty brutally, which I'm not gonna lie, this is where we get our first look at the chain and all that. And after that, he kills a street thug who tries to rob a woman by giving him the penance stare, which I'm not gonna lie, dude. Every time he did that, I'm like, dude, because they would always do like this close up of his eyes, like it's just like all on fire, and like that is badass. That's Ghost Rider right there. Like, this dude isn't like your regular hero who'll just beat you up really brutal. No, he'll kill you. And I think that was the thing I do wish the movie went a bit more, is how dark. Like, I like this movie, but, I mean, and they did try. They do try to go into the story of Ghost Rider a bit. But I do think We could have got a bit more, but they still probably didn't want to make it too like just about a story. But you have to is Ghost Rider. What is wrong? Yeah, there's the taking souls part, but the story of Ghost Rider, just in general, is so captivating. It would have been nice to go more into. We get a little bit of it later, but continuing. So after killing the demon next day, Roxanne kind of tells him off because he ends up missing the day because he had to do Ghost Rider stuff. Later that day, he starts testing his powers. And that night, Roxanne shows up. He tells her what ends up happening, but she doesn't believe him, so she leaves. Then that night, he goes hunting to confront Blackheart, but he ends up confronting the air one. I don't remember his name. Before that, he ends up getting arrested because the police think he did the murders that basically Blackheart did. But we get a cool breakout scene. It's probably my favorite scene in the entire movie. He breaks out like these guys are trying to beat him up. And then he just transforms into Ghost Rider and just starts fucking him up. And then just scares the one kid and then Lee escapes out. Confronts the air guy, kills him. He starts spinning the chain, basically causing like a fire wind, and it basically starts killing him. Then Ghost Rider escapes. The scenes where he's driving on the building are pretty cool, and it looks good. Largely, like I said, the visuals look good. Some of the villain visuals, like the air guy. Some scenes, no, he did not look good, but it's fine. It doesn't ruin the movie. So yeah, he drives off. This is where we meet the caretaker. I'll just spoil. He was Carter Slade, the original Ghost Rider. I really like that character because the way he tells the story. I always love stories where there's a mentor type character that mentors the current hero, and he works. And I thought the actor they got works. His fucking voice is so iconic. That's all I think when I think of this movie. So yeah, that night, Blackheart ends up finding because before the Ghost Rider drives off, he looks at Roxanne. So now Blackheart knows Ghost Rider has a heart. So he ends up killing his friend, who I recognize that actor from Gotham, but I know he was also in Blade. He was one of the villains in Blade. After killing him and injuring Roxanne, Ghost Rider tries to fight him, but he can't. He can't beat him and can't do the penance serum because he has no soul. So Blackheart orders him to get the contract and meet him in San Viganza, I think that's what the place is. So he meets up with the caretaker again, and this is where we get the reveal that he was Carter Slade, the original Ghost Rider. And the scene where he actually transforms into the Rider is so cool. And to see them both riding, and then the horse. You got Carter on the horse. You got fucking Blaze on the motorcycle. I'm not gonna lie, that's fucking cool. Especially seeing knowing that there was previous Ghost Riders before this. Actually see that in the movie is pretty cool. I would have liked to have actually seen him involved in the fight. That would have been cool, but no. He gives him the gun and the contract, and he kind of rides off, which is fine. Then Ghost Rider confronts Blackheart, but he initially can't beat him because the sun's starting to come up. And basically the sun comes up, the Rider power goes away. But he ends up, and he basically told her by a Carter to stay in the shadows. So he does that, and then initially, seemingly, Blackheart wins. He has the contract, all these demons start flying into him. But then, while Blackheart is fighting Ghost Rider, Roxanne's shooting him, basically is a distraction. Rider gets a hold of, ends up getting the gun, and then using the Ghost Rider, makes it Ghost Rider powers and shoots Blackheart, and then basically starts doing the penance stare because now he has souls. And yeah, those scenes are great, and the way it's able to show you what you're doing to people is so crazy. So he does that, ends up killing Blackheart, kisses Roxanne, and pretty much rides off with it. It's pretty much the end of the movie right there. But yeah, I really like the first Ghost Rider. It's not great, like it's not one of the upper or even second upper echelon of comic book movies, but it's still really fun. And you know, they got the aesthetic right. I really dig the motorcycle design. I've always hated that in the second one. That movie is trash anyway. But I've always hated that they changed the motorcycle design. I don't know why. Like I really dug the design in this. You know, yeah, it looks super CGI. I'm not gonna deny that, but it looks good. I like the more Harley. Like he's even in the comics. I've always preferred the more Harley or Chopper look of the Ghost Rider bike personally. But so it works, and it's just overall this is a good movie. Blackheart was a pretty good villain, good antagonist. I thought Eva Mendes did her part well. It was cool seeing Carter Slade and actually see him transform was actually pretty fucking cool because they didn't even have to do that. I really like that they went. It would have been cool to see him fight, but it's fine. But overall, this is an awesome movie. I would heavily recommend it. Especially, I mean, even if you're a Ghost Rider fan, yeah, there's some things in here that aren't like accurate, or theoretically, Ghost Rider movie should be R-rated. It should be really dark. But for what we got, honestly, it could have been way worse. So, but we did get way worse in the second one, though. I don't know what they were thinking in that second one. Nicolas Cage does try to carry it. The scene, though, I will admit, is pretty funny, where he's like pissing fire in like one of the cutscenes. I'll admit that was funny. But aside from that, Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance is fucking shit. So I'll be talking about that in not next Monday, but the Monday after that. But yeah. Tomorrow today, sorry, I was thinking technically I'm used to doing videos the night before. So later, I will be reviewing Final Destination 5. This is going to be one I'm going in blind. I've seen the kills, so I remember the kills being pretty good, but I don't remember. I've never seen the movie, like, at all. So, we'll see. I'll be reviewing that later tonight. I'm going to take one more hit, and I'll peace out. But as usual, fuck the Biden administration. Talk to y'all tomorrow, a little bit later. Peace.